Hello. So I realized that I just don't have the time to vlog anymore. Motivation or the will. So a video recording would be much easier. So I wanted to tell a story about the nurse's mind that I changed on circumcision. I have health issues, and I was having a nurse who was visiting me once every week to check my vitals, etc. And the last time that she came over, just a few days ago, sometime around the end of March, she asked, "Oh, what's this thing you're doing with the protests?" And and I told her about circumcision, and she said, "Oh yeah, well, I can understand your point of view, I suppose, but I've being a nurse, I've worked in the NICU, I've worked in doctors' offices." And then she immediately said, "But just those screams, those blood-curdling screams." And I was like, I know, it's pretty bad." And she was like, "And the doctor said that, that the restraints is what, why they were crying, that was making them uncomfortable, and it wasn't the surgery." And I kind of gave her this look like, well, obviously. And she was like, "Well, and I don't think I ever really believed that." And I was like, "Well, it's not true. Wouldn't you be screaming if someone was cutting into your genitals?" And she was like, "Yeah." I said, "If someone slapped an infant, it would cry, wouldn't it, because it hurts?" She was like, "Yeah, that's true." And I was like, "Well, what, suddenly if we're cutting into their penis, it stops hurting?" She was like, "Yeah." And I told her about the story of my son. She was like, "So is your son circumcised?" And I explained, how he is, in fact, circumcised. And then, I admit I made a mistake, etc. And I made the comment, I said, and they only used a secret passy. And ignore the Facebook message noise. And she said, "Well, do you know what we used?" I said, "What?" She said, "Nothing. For the longest time, we literally used nothing." I was like, "Are you really?" I thought just sucrose passy was, bad. She was like, "Yeah, the doctor said something about the endorphins, and that it wasn't really hurting them, and it was just the restraints, and that they wouldn't remember." And I was shocked, and I was watching her cognitive dissonance. I was watching her overcome her cognitive dissonance. I can't talk tonight. And it was quite interesting, and I was glad that she was really receptive to what I was saying, explained, because then she went, "Okay, well, I really understand that, but I guess, and I really agree with you, but I guess, I would probably still choose to go away, Facebook person. I would probably still choose to circumcise my future children." And I said, "Well, would you mind telling me why?" And she said, "Well, because of hygienic reasons, working in the nursing field, blah, 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 blah. I've heard this and this." And I explained, "Well, that really is a myth." I said, "I know so many intact men. I know so many women with intact sons. I know so many intact children. And it's not dirty, and it's not harder to clean, and you're not generally supposed to clean it with soap. You're not supposed to retract the foreskin." I explained all of that to her, and she kind of really started to see. I really went into in depth about the functions of the foreskin and my dog. I just can't get a word in edgewise here without being interrupted by something. Well, anyways, her mind really seemed to be changed, and I was so happy about it. She randomly, right before I left, she said, "Oh yeah, towards the end we started using something called EMLA cream." And I was like, "Yeah, interesting. I've heard of that." She tried to explain to me what it was, and I was like, "No, I understand what it is. I've studied a lot of the medical field. I was a CNA." And she said, "Yeah, and I don't think it really ever made much of a difference." And I said, "Of course it doesn't." I said, "Most doctors say, 'Oh, we'll get your baby in and out within 20 or 30 minutes.'" She said, "Yeah, it's about a 30-minute procedure." I said, "How long do you have to wait for EMLA to take effect?" She said, "About 30 or 45 minutes." I was like, "Yeah, So, And she told me before she got ready to leave, she was like, you know what, you've taught me more about circumcision and the functions of, the female and male genitalia than I've learned in my entire career or education as a nurse. So what does that tell you about our medical education system, or, how blinded really people are? It's amazing that she was receptive to my message. Not everyone is. I was lucky in that instance. And talking about it is just what's really important. It's hard to talk about it. And it can be really nerve-wracking. But, especially if you find the right kind of person who's receptive, don't keep your mouth shut. It's not a parental choice. It's not something that we can just stay quiet about anymore. And, and you might make enemies, but maybe those people need to be your enemies. You don't want friends like that anyways, right? Anyways, that's my story about changing the mind of a nurse. I really love that. That's the first medical professional that I've managed to bring over into the world of intactivism, or at least make her aware of the horrors of circumcision. And so I'm quite happy with that. And I hope she continues to spread the word and save future babies herself. Keep fighting the good fight, guys. Good night.